Welcome to Spectrum Sphere, the channel where we delve into a diverse world of discovery. Today, we're diving into the epic saga of the Hundred Years' War between England and France. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to join our community of curious minds and never miss an adventure in learning. The Hundred Years' War, a series of conflicts waged from 1337 to 1453, was rooted in territorial disputes and claims to the French throne. It pitted the Kingdom of England against the Kingdom of France and reshaped the medieval European landscape, setting the stage for modern nation-states. Diving deeper into the origins of this prolonged struggle, we find both English and French monarchies entangled in a complex web of feudal allegiances and territorial claims. Central to the conflict were the English king's possessions in France and their contention to the French crown, a rivalry steeped in history and ambition. Key figures emerge as architects of the early conflict. Edward III of England, with his eye firmly on France's crown, claiming his right through his mother, Isabella of France. Meanwhile, Philip VI ascends, invoking the Salic law to solidify his position, thus setting the stage for war. Succession to the French throne became the spark that ignited the Hundred Years' War. Edward III of England, a claimant through his mother, was denied by the principles of Salic law, which excluded inheritance through the female line. This, compounded by territorial disputes over Aquitaine, set the two kingdoms on a collision path. As the Hundred Years' War raged, a sense of nationalism began to emerge. No longer just fights for the ambitions of monarchs, the conflict stirred patriotic fervor among the English and French. People on both sides began to see themselves as part of a collective national identity, distinct from their rulers. Pivoting from the theaters of land, the Hundred Years' War also saw significant naval warfare. An early and decisive English victory occurred at the Battle of Sluys in 1340. Here, England's fleet, employing the lethal longbow, decimated the French at sea, asserting dominance and control over the English Channel. The longbow revolutionized military tactics in the Hundred Years' War. Its range and power allowed English archers to strike from a distance, penetrating armor that was previously impervious to short-range weaponry. This marked a shift in battlefield strategies, elevating the longbow to a position of formidable significance in medieval warfare. Moving to the Battle of Crécy, a pivotal clash where the English army, led by Edward III and the Black Prince, tested their mettle against the French. The prince, a mere 16, displayed remarkable command, leading the front lines with a combination of youth, vitality, and strategic cunning typical of seasoned commanders. As the Hundred Years' War progressed, a seismic shift occurred with the introduction of gunpowder. Its emergence redefined the landscape of warfare, rendering traditional fortifications vulnerable and initiating an era where firepower began to eclipse the importance of the armored knight on the battlefield. While kingdoms clashed, an unseen enemy emerged. The Black Death, an unfathomable plague, swept through Europe with a ferocity that knew no borders. It decimated populations in both England and France, sowing economic turmoil and social upheaval, and irrevocably altering the course of the war and history. As the war waged on, it wasn't only the battlefields that were bloodied. Back in France, widespread misery led to the Jacquerie, a ferocious peasant revolt. The year 1358 saw these oppressed peasants rise up, named after the mythical Jacques Bonhomme, embodying their collective anger against the nobility. Amidst the turmoil, mercenaries known as routiers became prominent, hired by both sides for their combat skills. However, when not employed, these battle-hardened soldiers turned to pillage, further ravaging an already war-torn countryside. Their unchecked plunder added another layer of suffering to the populace's woes. After years of internal strife and loss, French fortunes began to turn. Under the prudent leadership of King Charles V, known as the Wise, France gradually regained stability. Through clever diplomacy and strategic military reforms, Charles outmaneuvered English forces, initiating a period of recovery and resurgence for his kingdom. Enter Bertrand du Guesclin, a figure pivotal in shifting the war's tide. Tasked by Charles V Du Guesclin employed guerrilla tactics, avoiding large-scale confrontations that favored English longbowmen. Instead, he liberated key strongholds through stealth and sieges, weakening English grip on French soil with each calculated move. In 1356, the Battle of Poitiers became another landmark encounter. The English, led by the Black Prince, outmaneuvered and defeated a larger French force. Most shockingly, they captured King John II of France. His imprisonment caused a political shockwave, further destabilizing the already tumultuous French leadership during the war. The capture of King John II led to the Treaty of Bretigny in 1360. This agreement marked a turning point, where England gained territories in France and King John was released in exchange for a ransom. The treaty ushered in a brief era of peace, allowing both nations to recover from incessant conflict. As the war progressed, internal power struggles in France gave rise to the powerful Burgundian faction, altering the course of the conflict. Their decision to side with the English after the assassination of Louis of Orleans played a pivotal role, further complicating the dynastic and territorial disputes of the era. Medieval warfare was undergoing a transformation. The ideal of chivalry, the code of conduct for the noble knights, began to decline as pragmatic, often brutal strategies took over. This shift was marked by the introduction of professional armies and the diminishing influence of the mounted knight on the battlefield. As the war progressed, a new English monarch rose to the throne, King Henry IV. His ambition re-energized the English cause, culminating in the infamous Battle of Agincourt. Despite being outnumbered, Henry's innovative tactics and the superior range of the English longbow led to a decisive and legendary victory. In a remarkable turn of events, a peasant girl named Joan of Arc emerged, claiming divine guidance. Her zeal and conviction lifted the siege in Orleans, igniting a wave of French victories. This pivotal moment, led by a figure now iconic in history, marked a crucial turning point in the war. After Joan of Arc's pivotal role at Orleans, the stage was set for a dramatic shift. Charles VII was officially crowned in Reims, bolstering French morale. With renewed vigor, France began to systematically reclaim territories, methodically undoing years of English conquest and tipping the scales in this protracted conflict. With the Battle of Formigny in 1450, the French forces struck a decisive blow against the English, leveraging superior numbers and artillery. This defeat marked the beginning of the end for English territorial ambitions in France, signaling a close to their once expansive dominion on continental soil. The Hundred Years' War left an indelible mark on both England and France. For the English, the loss of their French territories crippled their feudal ambitions on the continent. The French, meanwhile, emerged with strengthened national unity and a centralized monarchy, setting the stage for future European power dynamics. As the conflict persisted, a heightened sense of national identity emerged. In France, the struggle against foreign rule unified the populace, cultivating a collective French identity. Conversely, England, galvanized by initial victories, began to perceive itself more distinctly as a nation separate from its French holdings. The protracted nature of the Hundred Years' War necessitated a level of organization and administrative control previously unseen, paving the way for centralized governments. Both England and France, spurred by the need to sustain long military campaigns, strengthened their monarchies, laying the groundwork for the modern nation-state. As the Hundred Years' War raged on, it became a crucible for military innovation. Gunpowder changed the face of battlefields, casting old fortification tactics into obsolescence. Armies saw the introduction of cannons and handguns, which would later dominate modern warfare, forever altering how wars were fought and won. In the aftermath of the Hundred Years' War, both England and France experienced significant cultural and societal shifts. Feudalism began its decline as both nations moved toward more centralized power structures, changing the political landscape. Art and literature flourished, reflecting the tumultuous period's influence on the collective consciousness of both societies. The Hundred Years' War set the stage for modern Europe. It catalyzed the emergence of strong national identities in England and France, propelling them towards nation-statehood. The war's end hastened the decline of feudalism, opening a path for centralization of power and birthing the renaissance of statecraft and culture. Had the outcomes of the Hundred Years' War differed, European history could have been vastly altered. Victory for England could have meant a dual monarchy over France, potentially creating a superstate. For France, the earlier expulsion of English forces might have led to a quicker consolidation of power and territory expansion. Thank you for joining us on this historical journey with Spectrum Sphere. If you enjoyed delving into the intricate past of the Hundred Years' War, please show your support by hitting the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more diverse explorations into our world's rich history and beyond.